Good afternoon. My name is Amir Durant, and this is my final speech, my TED Talk for my public effective speaking class. I have had a great experience rehearsing, discovering new techniques, and overall perfecting my speech giving skills. I feel like this class has given me lifelong lessons that I will take with me throughout the rest of my life. I find myself more confident when speaking in front of large people and also when speaking in front of the camera. My final speech or my TED Talk is going to be about my aha moment, which is the birth of my daughter. In order to tell the story, I have to take you about 10 to 15 years. I had just recently dropped out of college. I was working a bunch of dead-end jobs, and I was basically hanging out with the wrong crowd and doing the wrong things. I was definitely on my way into a 6x9 cell, which, coming from the area I come from isn't much of a surprise. It was around this time that my girlfriend contacted me and told me that she was pregnant. And I remember distinctively feeling or asking myself, how can I take care of a baby when I only have X amount of dollars in my account? So this moment really signifies my aha moment, which was when I realized that, hey, I must get it together, right? I have a child on the way, and I want my daughter to, or I want me to be the type of man that my daughter can look up to and be proud of, and give my daughter a better life, or at least as good of a life as my parents were blessed to give me. So, as of this moment, I was living with my mom, like I said. So my first thing that I did, I sat down and I realized that I needed to make changes in my friend and my social group. I looked around, I asked myself, are these friends, are they ambitious? Are they driven? Do they support me in their times of stress? Do they give me honest feedback? And do they let me know when I'm messing up? Do they want to see me improve? Do they motivate me? And I recommend everybody doing the same thing. And if there are people in your life that don't check any of these boxes, they have to be removed. I'm a big believer in the phrase, in order to elevate, you must separate. And one thing that you'll find is that when you start to get yourself together and you start doing the things that you're supposed to in your life and you start elevating, these people will naturally fall off of the tree without you having to do anything at all. Your positivity and your wishing for better will naturally repel the people who don't align with those things. And after you do this, another thing you must do is set goals. Set realistic goals. For example, me, when my girlfriend told me that, she was about to be pregnant or she was pregnant, I wanted to get a car. I didn't want to have my child's mother having to pick the stroller up the staircases in New York transit system. I used to see a lot of ladies like that and help, females in that situation. I always felt that, I didn't want that for, the mother of my child. So I set a goal of saving $300 every month. In order to accomplish your goals, you must sacrifice, right? There must be things that you say no to. So you must have to, in order for me, I had to say no to partying, drinking. I had to turn down events. I had to turn down things that I knew wouldn't benefit me in the long run. So, and sometimes in order to get where you need to go, you need to separate yourself from the things that are distractions. So I set a goal, I set myself of $300 a month. I was able to accomplish that goal by saving up $300 every month for 8 months, and I was able to get a car just before my daughter was born. Now, the only reason why I was able to do this was because I said no to distractions, and that's very tough to do, and that also goes along with, your friends and your social group. Real friends will understand that you are turning down something to benefit you in the long run. Real friends will support you in that measure. Another thing you have to do is show consistency. The definition of consistency is repeating the same action over a long period of time. Consistency and discipline are two of the most important factors when accomplishing your goals and bettering yourself. For example, consistency requires you to do things when you're tired, when you're not feeling your best, when you may not have it that day. For example, if you want to lose 10 pounds, consistency is, getting that 30 minutes of exercise, even if your stomach hurts, even if you have a headache. It's all about powering through and getting what you want at the end of the day. And it takes discipline, right? It's, for example, I'll go back to if you want to lose weight, because I know that is a common goal that a lot of people can relate to, especially in the summertime. If, it's one thing to have the consistency, but when you have the consistency and the discipline put together, then you have an unstoppable team. So consistency would be going to the gym every day, but the discipline is not ordering McDonald's 11:30 at night. It's if you have those two things, you are able to accomplish your goals a lot faster and get to where you need to go. Another thing I would recommend you do is try to find how to effectively use your time. We all have 24 hours in a day, and how you utilize those 24 hours is very important to the speed in which you accomplish your goals and your dreams that you have for yourself. I sat down with myself and I sat down and I wrote down all the things that I do that are not going to accomplish my dreams and my goals. So I sat down, I was very honest with myself, and I wrote down everything that I did that, in my spare time that I could have been doing something else. And, one of the things that I realized, me personally, is that I played a video game about 3 hours a day, or I did. Now, when I broke this down and I said to myself, what if I just played the game 1 hour a day instead of 3 hours a day? And then I realized that just doing that will give me an extra 14 hours of opportunity to work on my craft, to study, to train my mind, to move towards the direction in which I'm trying to go. And I feel like if everybody does this, if you are honest with yourself and sit down and really trim the time of what you do and what are you doing, that you could find, several hours that, that you could use to better benefit you. And if your goal is financial, that this could be the extra hours that you are, more effectively utilizing. This could be used to getting another job or creating another stream of revenue for yourself. So in overall, these are some of the things that I would recommend, that people do to try to better their life, and things that I can give based on my own life experiences. I didn't come from a wealthy background. I come from a very crime-infested and high-poverty neighborhood. So being in New York City, I'm sure there are other of my classmates and people that are watching this that can relate. But one thing I will say is that as long as you can walk, as long as you can go outside and do the things that move in the direction of accomplishing your goals, it's never too late. 3 things that I want to go over again is the social group. Your friends are very important. In order to elevate, sometimes you must separate. And I want you to leave, really remembering that and realizing that the people that are there for you will always be there for you no matter what. Another thing that we went over was how to effectively use your time. Sit down, find out where you are doing things that are not going towards your goal, that can, if you eliminate and better utilize towards your goals, you could get to your dreams faster. Me, for example, I talked about me playing the game and how that 3 hours a day and how I was able to get 14 hours extra a week to get to, where I needed to go. Another thing that we talked about was consistency and discipline. You must have consistency in what are you doing, and you must be disciplined. And don't be down if you cover setbacks. Sometimes you may have to take 1 step forward to take 2 steps back. And my name is Amir Durant, and don't forget, sometimes in order to elevate, you have to separate. Have a great day.